Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Voices of Healing podcast. I'm your host, Tina Clark. I'm a Reiki Master Teacher and your host. And today's guest is Abby Beale, and she is going to talk about homeopathy today. And she believes homeopathy is the coolest medicine on the planet. She became interested in homeopathy over 25 years ago when her 16-month-old son got permanent relief from repeated ear infections with one homeopathic remedy after multiple rounds of antibiotics. She has become a homeopath herself and an advocate for homeopathy since. Abby recently released a beginner book called Homeopathy Primer, Getting Started with Homeopathy, that helps people learn how to use homeopathy at home for acute ailments. So welcome to the show, Abby.
Oh, Tina, thanks so much. I really appreciate this opportunity.
So share a little bit more about yourself and your background and how you got into homeopathy.
So it's an interesting journey, and I hope your listeners are interested enough to listen. So many years ago, in 1988, actually, I started my own entrepreneurial practice as a speed reading expert. And I nurtured that for over 35 years. But at the same time, I also then came upon homeopathy, as you mentioned about my son, who had all these ear infections. And I just came upon this amazing medicine. I'll call it medicine. It's natural medicine called homeopathic medicine. And it was just one of those head scratching moments that I was like, wait a minute, I need to learn more. And so knowing that I could reading is very important in homeopathy. I had so many books in my office. And at the time, I really hated to read when I first started my business on speed reading, and I learned how to enjoy reading. That becoming a lifelong learner got me really interested in what is this homeopathy stuff and how could I use it for myself and how can I use it for my family more? Because that was amazing that my son took one homeopathic remedy, which basically so I'm just going to show, this is like a blue tube. And so it's like three or four little sugar pellets, and I didn't understand what that was at the time. And like his ear infections went away, and he had already taken 6 or 7 rounds of antibiotics, which did nothing. And so it was like, what is going on here? So as I was nurturing my speed reading business, I was also starting to study homeopathy. So in 2000, I started a little bit more curiosity. And by 2003, I went in earnest and started at a homeopathic school and studied while I was working my other business. And by 2013, I passed the certification exam. So I'm a certified classical homeopath here in the United States. And so if anyone's looking for a homeopath, you do want to get people that have gone above and beyond, I think, and have taken this exam and are what we call CCH certified classical homeopath. And people can look on the Council for Homeopathic Certification is where people are listed, like me. So I feel legit in that I have gone that extra mile. So it's like an accountant that goes for their CPA, kind of thing. And so ever since I started practicing, I just met so many people with so many issues. And since COVID, it's been even more and more, so much deep pathology and really some serious stuff going on. And so it's been a real challenge, but I'm up for it and I love it. Totally. Yeah.
So what are some of the common health issues that people are going to you for?
You pretty much name it. We got it. It could range from the mental, emotional things like depression and anxiety, and it could be even grief. It could be they've just never gotten over the death of a loved one, or a relationship, or a job that they lost. So there's all these mental, emotional things that really affect people pretty deeply, and then physical things like irritable bowel syndrome. That's very common. Chronic fatigue syndrome, because that's like, where did that come from? Epstein-Barr virus, which is from mono, or it could be Lyme disease, or migraines, so many different things, because the human body will speak a language when it's not feeling well. So the body speaks the mind, basically, is how I look at it now. And so when somebody has, let's say, migraines, I kind of wonder what's being held in the body that needs to express itself in a headache. And so we look back in the person's past and we look and see what's happened with them, and we look for the cause. So causes are very important in homeopathy because they that's what triggers the body's response.
Yeah. So how do you go about identifying the cause?
You ask. So if someone came and said, uh, I've had migraines since I was 13 years old, and this person is now 35, let's just say. And so you kind of say, okay, I want to know about your migraine, but tell me what was going on when you were 13. And they're like, they have to think about it. And then I kind of pepper them with questions if they don't know. And I'll say, did you move somewhere? Did someone pass away? Or did you have a trauma in your life or something like that? And then they go, you know what? I think, my grandmother passed away when I was 13. I remember that. And it was so sad because I loved her so much and we were so close, and that was tough. And so then I'm like, aha, there's something to go on, something to hold my hat on. And so by just interviewing people, we ask so many questions. Homeopaths ask so many questions, and learning how to ask those questions is so important. So in the book, Homeopathy Primer is meant to help teach people that know nothing about homeopathy how to do it. And so we use a system or a pattern of questioning that we call clams, so that if, let's say, one of your kids, let's just say, or even your cat just starts to get sick, they have vomiting, they have diarrhea, and they're just not eating, they're not drinking, they're seeking cold environments, they're like sleeping all the time, like all these different things. And like, how do you know what remedy to give? When you use the clams, you're able to decipher what specifically is going on. You observe the person or the pet, and then you look at the book. We have 100 comparison charts, of all different ailments. So you'd look under vomiting or diarrhea, and you would look and see, okay, which remedy best matches the symptoms of this person or a pet. And then you take the remedy, you try it, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, you look at something else. So just to clarify, CLAMS means cause. So it's an acronym: cause, location, additional symptoms, modalities, and sensations. So like a modality is what makes it better or worse. Could be eating or drinking, or what's the sensation of it? There's pain before they go to the bathroom or something like that. So there's all these different things, or like drinking bad water. You go to Mexico and you're drinking polluted water. So that's your cause right there. Maybe you have a headache along with the vomiting and the diarrhea. And so that's an additional symptom. And so you learn how to take a case. Basically, we call it that, so that you can then identify a good remedy to take.
Yeah, that's interesting because I do the same thing. I don't have the clams, but now I'm interested in all the questioning. But when I always ask if they come to me with a chronic problem, when did the problem start? What was happening in your life at that time?
Right.
And a lot of people are not making the connections to that. So sometimes they say, well, I don't really remember. I said, well, really think about if there was anything stressful, if there's any changes happening at the time. And usually they can come up with something that was happening around that time. So there's a connection between, the start of the problem and what was happening in their lives at the time.
Right. And then it can become a chronic issue, or an acute. Acute means it's just something that comes on pretty suddenly. It's usually an illness of some sort. And so let's say you're sitting under air conditioning on an airplane, and it's just really cold and it's just bearing down on you for the whole time, and you're getting really chilled. And then later that day or the next day, you start to get a sore throat and you start not feeling well. That could be the cause, is just getting chilled from the air conditioning. And so in the book, there's information about, so if you feel like you're getting sick, like you have a cold, it comes on from getting chilled. That's one of our etiologies or causes. So even something simple like that kind of cause can make the body get chilled.
Yeah, well, let's say traveling really does a doozy on your body. And those X-ray machines, I would avoid at all costs.
It's hard to avoid them, really.
You can opt out.
You can, but then
You
they
can.
pat you down.
Well, I rather get patted down and go through that machine
It's more
because I
fun.
think that machine compromises
Yeah.
you know, your health. And then you're going in your plane and getting exposed to whatever in the plane, radiation, bugs, whatever, you know, in the plane, the air. I mean, you don't know the cleaning solutions they use, you know, to clean it in 2 minutes. I'm always amazed that they can clean the plane so quickly.
I know.
Like,
They have
what do they
a whole
do?
army of people that come into in and grab stuff out of the back pockets, and
They must, because they do it so quickly.
yeah.
So when you take a homeopathic remedy, how long do you have to take it before you decide if it's working or not?
So it all depends on the severity of the issue. So for example, if you are having a lot of vomiting and diarrhea, and I hope I don't gross out your audience here, but it's life, you know,
Happens.
that's a little more serious than just a sniffle. And so if you're really having, you know, it's a more intense situation, you would dose like every 15 minutes for an hour. And then you'll see pretty much within that hour whether that remedy's working or not for you. And if not, you go to another one because you need something to help you sooner rather than later. So what you want to see is that the symptoms are starting to become less frequent, less intense, less long lasting. But if nothing changes, then you got to go to another remedy. And that's the beauty too of homeopathy. If you try a remedy in a 30C or lower, that's usually what people can get over the counter. So it's like a 6C, 12C, or 30C. It's so easy to try a remedy and not have a problem. You don't want to get remedies that are 200C or higher for people that don't know what they're doing. So we just tell people just stick with 30C or below. And so then so I'll give a quick example. My son, when we were in Mexico, I hope he doesn't listen to this because he's always embarrassed when I do this. He had what they call Montezuma.
Oh, now I'm going to look him up. No, I'm just kidding.
No, don't. He had I call it 2 exits, no waiting, you know, kind of thing. We were at an all-inclusive resort and I was studying homeopathy at the time. I was not a homeopath yet, but I had a kit with me, as I always tell people, carry a kit, because if you don't need it, great. But if you do, it's even better. So carry a little kit. So I'll just share. This is like one kit people can buy online. It's a Helios kit. I don't know if people can see this, but there's all these, there's 36 vials in here. It's so great to carry, and it's so small, and you just stick it in your bag. And then, so I had a kit with me, and I was observing him, and I thought maybe because we were an all-inclusive resort that maybe he overate, you know. So I gave him something for overeating called Nux vomica, and then that didn't do anything. And then it was like, oh, maybe you got food poisoning. You know, you're in Mexico. So I gave him a tried and true remedy for that called arsenicum. And we tried that a couple times. That didn't do it. He was still having trouble. And so then I said, okay, what's going on here? What do I notice? And so a very interesting phenomenon with him is that when he would drink something, immediately when the water warmed up in his stomach, he would eject it. And so that was a remedy called phosphorus. And I would have gone, that wouldn't be the first remedy to think of, but that's where we landed. And that was the thing that stopped the problem. He was played out. He was not well, you know, but he was not ejecting from, you know, 2 orifices anymore. He was just like, I'm exhausted. And it was really important because we were flying home that next day, and there was no way that he was going to get on a plane the way he was that night before. And so we ended up, you know, we did end up on the flight, and they were so nice to him. They put him in first class. They felt so bad for him. And they, you know, he the only thing he said was, Mom, I wish I felt better because I couldn't take advantage of everything they wanted to give me in first class because I felt horrible. But he got to fly in first class. So phosphorus to the rescue on that one.
Wow. So it can work fairly quickly.
Yes. When you're in an intense situation, it's an acute issue, and you get the right remedy, it can happen pretty quickly. Yes.
So what is actually in the remedy?
Great question. So all the remedies are energy medicine. There's no chemical, no material substance. The way remedies are made is that they are taken from a plant, a mineral, or animal source. They are then highly diluted in multiple successions of water. So for example, I use this example because people can relate to this. So we have a remedy called Cafea cruda. Cafea cruda is made from coffee. Makes sense. If you have too much coffee, you might have like insomnia, you might have a headache, you might have heart palpitations, you might have diarrhea, you might have shakes, you know, all kinds of things when you have too much caffeine or too much coffee. And some people come to me with similar symptoms that need this remedy. So we call that like cures like. And so how is that remedy made? Let's take a cup of coffee, we take a dropper, and in front of us are 30 cups of water with a little bit of alcohol as a preservative in it. So it's 99% full. All those 30 glasses are 99% full. We take 1 drop of coffee, we put it into the first cup. We close the top of the cup and we shake it hard 10 times. And it's not just a swirl, but like you pound it on a book way back when it used to be a Bible, just to really activate the energy of the substance in the water. And after you do it 10 times, that's considered a 1 centesimal. Then you take 1 drop from that 1 centesimal. You don't touch the coffee, the material substance anymore. You take 1 drop of that, you put that in the next cup, you succuss it or hit 10 times. You go to the next cup, same thing. So it's 2C, then you go to 3C and 4C. And so like this remedy is an Arnica montana, which is a 30C. And so by the time you get to about 4 or 5C, there's absolutely no material substance of that coffee left, but it's the energy of the substance that remains in the water. They found more and more, they're doing so much more research through the Homeopathy Research Institute in the UK. And like, why does this work? And it's because of these, they call them nanoparticles that get remained in the water that are then dropped onto these little sugar pellets. So my office has thousands of remedies in it, and every single one tastes the same, but it's the energy that's been dropped on it, this highly diluted water. And so it's safe. It doesn't go through your liver. There are no side effects like you would have with chemical medicine, the allergic reactions that people can get. No, that doesn't happen with homeopathic medicine. So I love it. It's non-toxic. It's obviously, you know, pretty safe and inexpensive. This tube here has 80 pellets in it. Costs about $8 to $10 US, you know, at the most. I mean, this lasts a long time. You don't need to take a whole tube. It's cool.
That's so interesting.
Thank you. I think so too. I love it. Like I said, I think it's the
And
coolest.
even if we don't understand like how it works, I always say it works.
Right.
You know, let's look at the results. There's a lot of these, honestly, a lot of holistic modalities, they're hard to explain.
Yeah.
Even my husband was a skeptic for a long time about Reiki. And it took him a while, and I would share story after story after the changes that I saw. And like, you know, I'd get real excited when someone was able to overcome like chronic pain or chronic headaches or whatever it was. Right. And eventually I asked him, so do you believe me? Do you believe that Reiki helps? And he said, yeah, I believe you.
Has he experienced it himself?
Yes. And he's also a Reiki 1 practitioner.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
I said, don't you think you want to take the class? You know, and he said, I feel like I already know it. I said, so he took the level 1 class. He doesn't really practice that much though. And practice is where you really understand how it works, how it feels, and what it can do.
Right. I'm so proud of him. That's awesome. I love it. Cool.
So I know I've gotten some homeopathic remedies, and you can get them like at Earth Fair. It's one local store that we have, natural food stores.
You can find them online too. You can get them online. Amazon took over Whole Foods, which is a natural food store. You can get them online. I just caution people that when they do order a remedy, make sure that it's the remedy that they ordered. Some because they're so small, and the people that pick the remedies to send don't always do it correctly. So you just want to make sure that it's the right remedy. And sometimes they're even covered with some white of some, like a whole different label besides these blue ones. And so you want to take that label off and make sure that what's underneath it is what you want. So, but you can get them online, or you can just get a kit to start with, like a Helios kit or Boron kits, and then you have them in-house for whenever you need. It's always a Saturday night at like 7 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. You're like, oh, I'm not feeling well. And then you're like, like,
Yeah. When you were talking about the kit, like I have a little kit of oils that I bring with me whenever I travel, just in case I
good.
need them.
Yeah, good idea.
Especially sometimes my favorite is I have chakra oil, so I bring the crown chakra a lot because if a headache, it knocks out headaches if you get it in the beginning.
Where do you put it? Where do you put
I put it exactly on the spot that hurts.
Okay.
So I have a roller, and then it's the top of the head. I'll put that roller right in there. And there's another spot, and as sometimes it moves around. And then you just keep putting oil on that. If you get it in right in the beginning, it won't get worse.
Fabulous. I love it.
That's my favorite.
That's great.
And then I like the frankincense just for energetic protection and all that, traveling, being exposed to all the people and all their feelings and
It's like Teflon. You create
right
Teflon
that I don't want to have anything to do with.
Yes, right. I get it. Smart.
Yeah. So what are some of the remedies that are your favorites that you use often?
There are probably like a dozen that are used very frequently because there are just so many things that people need it for. The first one is arnica, for sure. Arnica is, I call it the gateway drug into homeopathy, because even like plastic surgeons are using arnica for healing after a plastic surgery. I took it after I had a C-section. I didn't need any painkillers. I just took arnica. I was sore, yeah, but I wasn't in pain. And so arnica helped with that healing process. Arnica is just great for any over exertion. It could be snow shoveling, gardening, over workout. You've done too much, body lifting or something like that, where the body is just totally, achy and exhausted. And so a dose or two of arnica can be very, very helpful in a case like that. So arnica is for bumps and bruises and surgeries, after surgeries, and it's got so many uses. So arnica, and they also have it as a topical cream or gel, which is great. So if you have like knee pain or elbow pain, you just kind of rub that on that spot externally as well, and that can also be great. So internally, I think, is good, as well as externally. It feels good when you put it on. That's one. I would say another one is apis. Apis is made from a bee stinger. That's because I said remedies are made from plants, minerals, or animals. In this case, it was an animal, which was a bee stinger. And so think about, when you get stung by a bee, that typically what happens is it becomes, really hurts. It's red, it's hot, it's inflamed. And usually people want to put cold on it. And so apis, those are the keynotes of apis. And so any kind of puncture wound that you have that mimics that, you would take apis. So it could be a bee sting. It could be from eating something that gave you hives, where it's red, hot, inflamed, and better from cold. And so I think apis is a great remedy to carry around. It's also been used on the way to the hospital for some people if they have an anaphylactic shock. So it's the kind of thing, you don't just do homeopathy at home with that, but you go to the hospital, and on the way, take apis, because it could help with the swelling of the throat and the closing of the airways. And so we say in the book, so the Homeopathy Primer, this is what it looks like for anyone that sees it, that we have in here sections where appropriate that says when it's an emergency, like if your throat's starting to close, go to the hospital, and on the way, take apis. So we try to be very clear on educating people around those kinds of things.
Would that be good for mosquito bites or wasp stings?
So apis can be definitely good for any kind of bee sting, wasp sting. there's another remedy too that we give for any kind of a puncture wound or a spider bite, a mosquito bite. It could be, is called Ledum, Ledum. Ledum palustre is the full name. Ledum is a very good remedy for like after a vaccination where you got, you know, I'll call it a puncture wound, or if you have a spider bite, or you I don't know, had a nail in your foot or something like that, like or something scraped you in a really bad way. So any kind of puncture wound is Ledum. It's also given for either preventing or even after you have a tick bite. So it's a puncture wound where you take Ledum several times just to help remediate any problem that may come up from a tick bite. And taking it before you go outside sometimes can help you even getting a tick bite. It's a very interesting remedy called Ledum. So I like that remedy. I like arsenicum too. I mentioned that earlier. Arsenicum has so many different uses. Like I was using it for my son for food poisoning. It didn't work in that case, but it can be very useful for that. It's also good for certain colds or flus. It has a keynote of people who they're very warm. They could have a fever. And usually when you have a fever, like you want to uncover and you want to get cool. But people who need the remedy arsenicum want more heat. They want to be covered, even though they may have a fever of 102, 103. And so that's a keynote. They want warm foods. They want warm things. They continue to want warmth, even though they're already warm. That's a keynote of arsenicum. So there's so many different uses for many different remedies. I mean, there are thousands in our Materia Medica. I would say most of the time I focus on 2 to 250 remedies that are the most commonly used. And some of them are broad-based that are called polycrests. And so it's not like we have to know all thousands of them, but we know a lot of at least really good ones that are very helpful for people.
Yeah, that's great. And, you know, the premise of this podcast is moving away from the medical model because it's not really working for people. So here's something that you can try and educate yourself on. And I mean, I'm going to get your book for sure and start, because I like to try new things. And you have to try different things. So what is the most important thing you'd like the listeners to know about homeopathy?
There's a lot of things. I would say that it's important to know that when you go to visit any practitioner, whoever they are, that they all practice with their own toolbox. And so my toolbox is mostly homeopathy, homeopathic remedies. I'm also good at teasing out, you know, lifestyle issues. When you go to your conventional doctor, there's a value there, definitely, but their toolbox, you have to know what it is, which is testing, is pharmaceuticals, and surgery. That's their toolbox. So if you're going to them for nutritional advice, you're going for natural means, they're not going to have it. And so I believe there is a nice complement between like Reiki, as well as homeopathic healing and naturopathy and all these different things that would be great if we could all like have kumbaya and work together. It would be amazing. You know, so it's not like you have to replace your medications for homeopathy, but there are ways to live more healthfully and to get to the root cause of things versus just taking something and it comes back when that something wears off. And so we really want to help people develop better health, period, not just suppress, you know, current symptoms. So it would be just so nice if we could all work together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share where people can find you? And are you doing sessions in person or online? And how to get your book?
So thank you for allowing me to share that. So the book itself, it's called Homeopathy Primer. So you just go to the website, homeopathyprimer.com, and you can order the book there. However, if you do join our community, there's a pop-up on there that says join the community. You add your email there, you will get an email back that will give you that clams description. So we've taken it from the book. So you get to see how to take a clams case and the formatting. So you get that. And you get a $20 off coupon for the book. So you might want to join the community, get the coupon, and then make your purchase on homeopathyprimer.com. We also created this thing called a remedy tracker goes really great with the book. So when you take a remedy for something, you write down what you took and when, and was it helpful or not, so that 2 years, 3 years from now, you get that same thing and you go, oh, what did I take? I don't remember. You go back in the book and you'll be able to keep it. So it's a remedy tracker.
Okay.
So hopefully that will be helpful. I also have on my website there a movie called Introducing Homeopathy. It's a very good movie to just get people thinking differently and to understand stories about homeopathy. So they can go to the website, look under resources, under Introducing Homeopathy, and they could go and they could rent the movie. It's pretty inexpensive, and really get educated about it. So I thought that might be helpful for people too.
Great. And what's your web address?
It's homeopathyprimer.com.
Okay, that's right. You did mention it. So I always have my guests mention it because I'm the kind of person, when I hear something, I might be listening and I want to look it up right away. So I'll go to the website right away. But all that information is also going to be in the show notes. Well, thank you, Abby, for being a guest and telling us about homeopathy. You're my first out of 64 interviews. So
I feel so privileged. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for introducing. I mean, it's exciting to think that we have all these possible solutions.
Yeah.
And we just need to educate ourselves.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Cool. Good. Thank you for the opportunity. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.